The Kansas City Chiefs, the city of split custody, bang and barbecue, and of course now Taylor Swift's boyfriend, until she needs more writing material. But the Chiefs have probably been the best team in the NFL over the past 5 seasons. They've been to 5 straight AFC Championship appearances, played in 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, and won 2 of them. Yet there's just something off about this year's team that just doesn't feel as good as recent years. They're shooting themselves in the foot and losing their cool out of frustration. Nothing is going to plan in Kansas City right now. The Chiefs have now lost 3 of 4 in 4 of their last 6. The Chiefs keep losing, and they need to figure out a lot of things in their final 4 games of the season, because lately they haven't been able to beat good teams, and the Bills are the latest example of that. Week 14, Bills at Chiefs. The 6-6 Bills made their way to Arrowhead, and it's always a big game when Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes play. Those 2 quarterbacks definitely have some history. They've had some great back and forth games in the past, and this game was no different. The Bills did win 20-17 in what was a pretty good game, but it ended in a very controversial way. The Chiefs probably pulled off one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. Patrick Mahomes completes a pass to Travis Kelce, who then lateraled the ball to Kadarius Toney for a touchdown. The crowd went nuts. The broadcasters were speechless. It was a storybook ending to the game, but it didn't end up counting because who else but Kadarius Toney lined up offsides? When a team has a ton of success, people tend to root against them. That's just the norm in sports. They become very unlikable, and the Chiefs certainly didn't help their case at the end of the game. Patrick Mahomes reacted just about as bad as humanly possible. He threw his helmet on the ground, was yelling at the refs, and worst of all, he complained straight to Josh Allen's face post-game. Like, I don't really know what the hell Josh Allen is supposed to say there. He reacted like a guy that has had every call go his way in his career, and for the most part, it's really felt like he has. Now, the biggest argument from this game has really just been calling that offsides that late in the game. And I just have one thing to say about that. He was super offsides. Like, it wasn't even close. This was a penalty. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. This is a penalty. It got called. That's that. And if you want to talk about weak penalties, let's take it back to the Super Bowl. The very play that essentially ended the Super Bowl was a weak holding call that went the Chiefs' way. Mahomes was screaming at the refs to call that penalty then and not just let him play like he's saying now. So what changed? Why call that game-deciding penalty on James Bradbury in the Super Bowl, but not on Kadarius Toney here? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because that decides whether or not the Chiefs win or lose those games. One went their way, and the other didn't. That's just the NFL. I do have to say, I find the lack of consistency absolutely hilarious. It's been a problem all season with the refs, but it really feels like Kansas City has this expectation that all the calls are going to go their way, and they aren't. Frankly, Kansas City got screwed over way more in the Packers game than they did all game against Buffalo, yet this is the penalty they want to throw a fit about. This is the problem with the Chiefs complaining about the calls. They usually get them to go their way, and now that they haven't, they're complaining about it. Nobody is even arguing that it wasn't offsides. I think that's the funniest part about it. They know it was a penalty. They're simply arguing for the refs to not do their job in that moment. If it goes the other way, I think Buffalo has a much more valid argument for the refs missing that than the Chiefs do for them calling it in the first place. They're literally arguing that it shouldn't have been called in that moment because of how the play unfolded and that the call took away from the moment and so forth. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. You can't pull a penalty because a play was super impressive. When the officials threw the flag, they didn't know what was going to happen on that play. They threw the flag as soon as they snapped the ball. This wasn't some late call like in the Super Bowl against Bradbury. The flag wasn't even thrown until after the play ended. I think it's just a complete joke, and it already makes a hated team even more hated by the public. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have benefited a ton from calls over his career, and it's odd to make this the hill you're willing to die on. Now, the whole Patrick Mahomes complaining to Josh Allen thing was just uncalled for. Not really sure what the hell Josh Allen can do about it at that point. Meanwhile, Dalton Kincaid and Travis Kelce are jersey swapping. It was really just Patrick Mahomes that reacted this way. But I will say this, as a lifelong Patriots fan, I never really understood all the hate that came from the outside world during the Brady era. By the way, the Patriots were also a team that got a lot of calls to go their way during that era, much like the Chiefs right now. But now as my team enters poverty franchise territory and the first time in over 20 years, I understand. I completely understand. The Chiefs are a team that I can't help but just have like a tiny bit of hope deep down inside that they lose. And the reason for that is they're just so good. They're so good, it's infuriating. Everything seems to go their way. They come back even if they're down by like 3 scores. You can never count them out. They're just that good. They have been that team. But as of late, it doesn't really feel like that. And they have a lot of problems that they're going to need to address before the playoffs. Now, most of the Chiefs' problems this season have been self-inflicted, and it really feels like every time the Chiefs have a problem, Kadarius Toney is somehow involved. Somehow, Kadarius Toney's drop against the Lions in Week 1 isn't his worst play of the year now. Remember, he dropped 3 passes in the season opener, and even worse, one led to a pick 6 that really lost the Chiefs the game. He's just been a complete disaster, but trading for him will always be worth it because of that Super Bowl punt return. But I gotta say, he's really testing the Chiefs to see just how much bullshit he can get away with before they cut his ass. But even that doesn't seem likely, because the Chiefs wide receivers aren't exactly that great. Tyreek Hill got traded away to the Dolphins, and yes, the Chiefs did still win the Super Bowl last season, but it wasn't easy. Of course, Travis Kelce is still the #1 target in Kansas City, but the Chiefs' top wide receiver this season is Rashee Rice, who has 663 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's a second-round pick out of SMU, and hopefully he can continue to develop, but the only other wide receiver with over 300 yards is Justin Watson. Mahomes isn't exactly working with top-tier talent at wide receiver this season, and it's felt like that's been one of the biggest issues for the Chiefs. But even that offense just hasn't looked the same since Matt Nagy took over as offensive coordinator after Eric Bieniemy left. It just hasn't felt the same, and that's been clear in some bad losses. Tyreek Hill is a player that you really can't replace. Now, like we said, yes, they did go on to win the Super Bowl, but it really does feel like that trade is now impacting this team. I feel like one of the biggest storylines after that loss in Week 1 to the Lions was like, damn, the Chiefs don't have wide receivers like that anymore. Granted, they never really had that many guys that are like, holy shit, this guy's incredible. They had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, but that was enough for them to run the table for years. Now, Travis Kelce is still him, but the other pieces surrounding Mahomes just don't feel like they're always on the same page. Not really sure just how much of that is due to coaching, but that's also certainly an issue right now. Feels like sometimes when a team loses a coordinator, the offense just doesn't feel as effective as it once was. We've seen it with teams like the Eagles when Shane Steichen left to be the head coach for the Colts. It just happens sometimes, and a big question with Eric Bieniemy was just how much weight he held in the success of Kansas City, because a big knock on him as a head coach candidate was that he was never truly the play caller. It was Andy Reid. Now with Bieniemy gone and the Chiefs not performing quite as well as they have before, it seems to me that Eric Bieniemy held a good amount of weight in that system. The Chiefs have lost more than just those Lions and Bills games where you can blame Kadarius Toney though. After the loss to Detroit, the Chiefs rattled off 6 straight wins, and it was a good 6-game stretch. The next 6 though wasn't as good. They lost to the Broncos in a game where the Chiefs only scored 9 points, but luckily they got right the next week with a win over the Dolphins, and those are 2 of the best teams in the AFC and could realistically be a future matchup in the playoffs. Then there was the highly anticipated Super Bowl rematch against the Eagles at home. No bad field like there was in Arizona, so nothing to complain about this time around, and the Eagles found a way to win that one. 2 weeks later, following a win over the Raiders, Kansas City lost to the Packers 27-19 on Sunday Night Football. Now, after the Bills loss, the Chiefs are 8-5 and are probably going to have to play some away games in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes has benefited a ton from playing at Arrowhead come late January, but it's not going to be the case this year. The Chiefs are behind both the Ravens and Dolphins and are currently tied with the Browns in terms of record. Anything can happen come playoff time, but this isn't the same dominating Chiefs team from recent seasons. Now, I wouldn't go panicking though, because as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, I wouldn't count out the Chiefs. With that being said, this isn't going to be an easy year for them, and you have to wonder if Kansas City is actually good enough to get their 3rd ring in the Mahomes era. Thank you guys for making it all the way to the end of this video. If you guys like this one, make sure to smash that like button. And if you don't already, subscribe to the channel down below and turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload by us. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Is it just me, or do the Chiefs look worse than they've looked since Mahomes has gotten into the league? I don't know. Just something feels off about this team. Let me know down in the comment section below. If you want more things J&D, follow us on socials at JDProdNFL. And if you want more things from me, follow me at my socials at the bottom of the screen right here. But yeah, thank you guys for making it all the way to the end of the video. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.